is a Cupid doll. All I wanted you to do was go on the computer and tap out some things and show me a picture, not fill my living room with impaled dollies on sticks. What do I look like? That's not furniture design. That's disgusting. Who wants a living room filled with impaled dollies? It looks like a haunted house. Get it out of there. I do not want to see another one of those hideous things ever again. You get them out of there before I have finished this, or else you are going to be impaled on a stick. Hello? Hello? How are you? How are you? Well, we have another play. We have another play today. We are looking at an Australian play, and it is called Summer of the 17th Doll. I wasn't too sure about what this was, but I found it very interesting. I did find it very interesting. But before we start, you know what it is. There's a shop. It has things. There's another shop. It has more things. Have a look at it. Like, subscribe, comment, share, or I'll jump out from under the bed and scare you witless when you try to go to sleep tonight. Okay, are we all done? Are we ready for the play? Good. So, I am stepping on Laura's toes. I don't care. I'm going to step on everybody's toes now that we're doing theatre. I'm stepping on everyone's toes. But this time we are looking at a play called Summer of the 17th Doll. I want to put a "the" in front of it, but it doesn't have a "the." It's just Summer of the 17th Doll. And now this is a play that comes from around the same time as the Milwaukee Family Players, actually. It's sort of contemporary. I mean, they've been down here since 1954, and this play was premiered in 1953. So it's fairly contemporary to the Milwaukee Family Players, but they didn't know it. They had no idea about this play, but I don't think it got all the way to Milwaukee. I think it was more London and Melbourne, not Milwaukee. But it's an Australian play, and I haven't done anything Australian before, and so that's really interesting because I don't even know if they know about us down there. They probably do. But anyway, so this is a play. It's set in the early 1950s, and it's set in Melbourne, and it's mostly set in one room of a boarding house. So you'd think it would be really boring, but then again, we did watch a play that was set in a desolate wasteland with a tree, and that wasn't boring. So you never know. I am noticing these plays do not have the grand scale of Shakespeare. I am noticing that. Something seems to have happened between then and here that changed things. I'm hoping to discover more of this as we go on because, picking up more and more theatre. I've got some big gaps. So anyway, it's set in a boarding house, and we start out with Bubba and a woman named Pearl. And Bubba is talking to Pearl about another woman called Nancy and the fact that she just got married recently. And now Bubba and Pearl and Olive, because Bubba says Olive was really cross on Nancy getting married and will not hear anything of it. But Bubba and Pearl and Olive are waiting for two men to arrive, Barney and Roo. And now Barney and Rue have been coming down. They're cane cutters. They work up in far north Queensland. And they cut sugar cane. People always think of my mother, my smother, as being this wonderful, wonderful Hessian weave hippie goddess who just bakes bread and does all these nice things to humans. Sugarcane is poison. But, well, in excess. But has anyone ever eaten sugar in non-excess? No. My smother, you think I'm an anomaly? No. My smother has a dark side. She has a really, really dark side. Yeah, she is that Hessian weave hippie. Yeah. Yeah. There are an awful lot of plant things that are not good for you, that are all her domain. So anyway, they're cane cutters. And Rue and no, we don't meet them yet. But Olive is telling Pearl, who she's roped in. Pearl is a widow. She has an 18-year-old daughter, and obviously she hasn't been getting any for a while because she's a widow. And so Olive has roped her in to be a date for Barney so that they can go on having this 5-month period of time when the men come down from Queensland and visit them. So for 17 years or 16 years, this is the 17th year. For 16 years, these men have been coming down and staying with the women for 5 months of the year and then going back for 7 months of the year to cut cane and earn money because they can earn really big bucks doing this. Sort of a bit of it's an unconventional relationship. Sort of a bit like my marriage, except I'm the one who does the commuting in my marriage. And it's not that long. No, couldn't imagine that long. But anyway. And Olive is telling Pearl about what great men they are. They're the eagles that fly in from the north and with the sun, and they bring all of this excitement with them. And she describes them as these great men. Anyone would think that they are gods coming down from the north. Anyone would think, and that they make the city men look soft. I mean, that sounds great. Pearl is rather skeptical. She's left her bags at the bottom of the stairs. She's not going to go up unless she decides. She's not decided yet if she's going to stay. Anyway. So already we have this sort of friction happening because it's not the way that it once was. It's not how it has been. Nancy's no longer there. She got sick of this life and she married a man who's in a bookshop or owns a bookshop. So when the men finally arrive, it turns out that Rue, Olive's boyfriend, hasn't got any money because, according to Barney, he injured his back and then he got into a fight with another man and he walked off the job and wasn't almost not going to come. And Rue is he's a man in his late 30s, maybe 40. They've been doing this for some time, so the women are in their 30s too. And he needs to find a job because he hasn't got money. Usually they come down with money, and Barney is usually short of money. So Rue usually helps him out, but this time Rue can't. But Pearl is not hugely impressed with Barney, and she decides not to sleep with him that night. But Olive is you know, put a happy face on it. It'll be fine, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. But already this is not going to be fine. We wouldn't be getting a play for this summer, doll, if it wasn't special. But Rue has remembered to bring this ugly, ghastly doll on a stick. I mean, there is something wrong with a woman who has multiple impaled dolls around a room. That should be your first clue that there's something not quite... Grown woman with impaled dollies. I mean, we've got some bad ones down here, but we didn't nobody's got their room decorated with impaled dolls. Okay, Vlad the Impaler, but within reason. Nobody's got impaled dollies around their room. That's abnormal. Anyway, so Olive is trying to make the best of this and think that this will be fine. This will be just like it's always been. Pearl is not terribly happy when she discovers that Barney has children. 3 children by 3 different women in 3 different states. And so she's not hugely excited about that. Barney is again like Olive is somewhat trying to make the best of it. He does miss Nancy. Bubba shows him pictures of Nancy and at her wedding, or she gives them to Rue to give to Barney, of Nancy's wedding, but it's not the same. Barney doesn't really have as much money. Apparently up north, while they were cutting cane this year, a younger, fitter man had challenged Rue's position as the gun, the one who sets the pace, the one who leads the cutting gang, and this is what led to the stoush between them, and especially when Rue fell down. Barney Rue is quite upset with Barney, though he hasn't said anything, but this comes out, that Barney didn't leave with him, that he stayed with the other men on the gang. So Rue feels like he's lost face with the other men, and he's had to take a job. He's had to take a job working in a factory, in a paint factory, in what's supposed to be his time off. Pearl has decided to stay, but she is not the fun girl type that Nancy was, and so she's sitting there and knitting on New Year's Eve, and it's New Year's Eve, and they're all sitting there like a bunch of boring middle-aged people, kind of wishing they weren't, kind of thinking about their past. And this causes issues. Olive never ever sort of faces up to this, but it's becoming pretty apparent that this is not what, for Pearl, this is not what she was promised. She was promised some fun times, and what she's got a clapped out cane cutter with multiple bastards, and all she was sort of thinking, oh well, maybe if this works out and that he has all the money that Olive says, I might be able to get a new mister, and have a nice household. But in spite of her best efforts, there is no domesticating Barney, which he explains to her, which she's not terribly happy about. But she's going to stick around a little bit longer. Of course, all of these tensions come to a head when others, because Rue's at work, he's not in the pub with Barney, and Barney meets up with other people from up north, including the young bloke that showed Rue up. And he brings him round like no hard feelings, because he wants to stay in with these men, and he also wants to go off fruit picking because his money's running out, and he doesn't want to get a job like Rue because that would be beneath him, in spite of the fact that fruit picking is itinerant labor work, but it's with the other men. It's not a factory job. It's not domesticated. It's not safe. And so Barney convinces Rue to come to the races with them. He and the other younger man talk about going to the races, and Barney convinces them, oh, well, if we don't go with all the boys, we'll bring the girls with us. Olive will go and Pearl will go, but what about for you? Well, Pearl has a younger daughter. Big mistake, Barney. Big, big, big mistake. Because when he suggests this to Pearl, she is not having any of this. She does not want her daughter anywhere near men like this. This might be okay for her to have a bit of fun because she is an adult woman who knows exactly what she's doing. And, already she's like, her worth on the marriage market is lesser. But she wants more for her daughter. She wants her daughter to be respectable and perhaps move a couple of rungs up the social scale, not be stuck down at the bottom with itinerant labourers and factory workers and having to work in a pub or a shop. In fact, Pearl would love to work in a shop instead of being a barmaid. So she is very aspirational for at least for her daughter, if not for herself. And so she has a huge row with Barney, and she is no. This is not a chance. And then Bubba comes and she meets the young bloke. And she has watched this courtship for her whole life since she was 5 years old. She's now 22. For the 17 years she's been watching. She's the neighbour's girl. And she decides that she wants the same thing. And she is going to have this young bloke who is the new Rue, as it were. And Barney tries to put her off, but when she talks to Rue says, yeah, if you want him, go for it. Go for it. Do it. It doesn't last forever, though. It doesn't last forever. Because Rue also talks to Olive's mother, and she confirms what the thing that he hasn't wanted to say to himself, that it's not one bad season. You're getting older. This is a young man's game which you've been playing. You have to shift and change your focus. Which all sounds fine, except that when it all comes out and all the tensions come out, when it all comes out that Rue is not going to go back up north, he's going to stay down for winter, he's going to stay in his job in the factory, he's not going to go back up north and cut cane. And Barney is pretty angry at this. He's not happy about this. Barney's a bit of a leech. He's a bit of a leech. And he's willing to go with the other men. And they fight, and in the process, they trash the room. The next morning, Pearl is sitting waiting for her cab because she is leaving. She is out of here. Barney insulted her. She is not going to stay. No way, Jose, is she going to stay. And so she leaves. But Olive has been tidying up, and she's cleaned everything up, including getting rid of all these hideously tacky dolls. But she's put them away. She hasn't actually got rid of them. So when Rue comes down, well, Rue and Barney talk about the fact that, maybe it's time that we separate for a bit, because this ain't working so well. And when Rue tells Olive that he's not going back up north, she doesn't react very well. She has absolutely no, like, she's like, no, I want it to be like exactly like it was. And it's like, Lovey, you're like what, 35, 36, 37? You want it to be the same as it was when you were 18, 19, 20? This man loves you. He offers to marry you. Yes, okay, you have been living this really unconventional life, and I think that's something of it is that unconventional life wasn't really a problem in the 30s when it was the Depression and people couldn't necessarily afford to get married. And then in the 40s there was the war, and so that enabled that to be much more of a unconventional lifestyle. But now it's after the war, it's the early 50s, and people want to be more like Pearl. People want to be more conventional. And so by the time it's the early 50s, there's a certain degree of, like, there's more affluence around. People are wanting to have a better life, and this itinerant life is less attractive to people, even though it has had good money. But Rue is understanding the good money relied on his youth and strength, and those don't last forever. And here he is at his most vulnerable and at his lowest point. And some people, I could say that at this point he's like his most pathetic, and therefore why would she want him? But I think that is being kind of hard, and it lets her off the hook far too much. I mean, he's being really vulnerable and saying, we can't have that life anymore, but we can have a life here. We can get married. We can have that life. We can, he never does say, I love you in words, but it's very obvious he does love her, but he wouldn't make himself so vulnerable for anyone else. No one. But she throws that back at him. She doesn't want that. She wants what they've had for the past 16 years. And she literally walks off sobbing like a hysterical child. You know, when they get all, like, I mean, icky children, when they get all hyperventilating and they can't breathe properly, she walks off the stage like that. And her mother says, right, that's it, you're not welcome here anymore. And he wrecks the 17th doll. And that's the play. Now, I didn't know so many of these plays would be about waiting. We were waiting last time with Waiting for Godot, and then this is a play about waiting for the men to come down to live for 5 months. And also realizing that those 5 months that you wait for, you're losing your life doing that. You mortals don't live very long, and you spend so much of your lives waiting for things, waiting for life to start, waiting for this, waiting for that. It's no way to live. Absolutely no way to live. But your lives are also subject to change, not like the gods. The gods could go on having a summer of a 17th doll or a summer of a doll over and over and over and over and over and over and over. I told you we're cyclical. We don't wait for things. We exist, like the seasons. But that takes a very particular skill. You aren't like the seasons. And yet you wait. And you pause your lives. And I think Nancy had the brains. Nancy got herself out of it. Nancy was like, this is my best years are in the rearview mirror, and I am running out of time to get the things. Barney is not going to give me those things. We don't know exactly what Nancy wants, why Nancy goes and gets married. Does she want children? And she's looking in that rearview mirror and saying, I'm 35 and I'm not going to have much more time to have children? Do I really want to be thinking, that I missed my chance because I was waiting for Barney? Even if he's better than this new guy is here and he won't make me wait. Also, Barney is very sloppy with his contraception. He already has 3 kids, although he says he pays maintenance. He looks like he's the kind of person who leaves the minute the woman gets pregnant. Don't know about Rue. Rue looks like he's been with Olive this whole time. And it doesn't look like Olive has been pregnant, because Olive is living in this little fantasy world. So maybe Rue fires blanks. Maybe Olive has something. But clearly, Baby has not come in to disturb the integrity of these summers, these long summers. Maybe Nancy was pregnant. Maybe Nancy didn't want to be dumped somewhere and paid maintenance for the baby. Maybe she decided, that's it, I'm going to get me a husband. And just, do that. And maybe he's an older man who doesn't really care, but he's like, wife, baby, yay. You don't know. We don't know anything about Nancy. We do know she likes reading books. Maybe that's why she picked him. But she clearly decided, I don't want to wait anymore. I'm tired of waiting. I want to live my life. Pearl is not waiting around for these men. She's like, this is tawdry. This is as cheap and nasty as the ugly dolls. They're just cheap, nasty, ugly dolls. Plastic dolls on sticks with tinsel. She can't see what Olive sees. I mean, to be honest, Olive sees I love you in them, which is nice. And she needs that, but she can't then give that back when Rue needs it. It's all about Olive. Which is, I think, makes her probably the character that I liked least in the whole thing. I mean, aside from the fact that after Beckett came down last time and gave the Milwaukee Family Players an entirely new way of approaching theatre, I don't think that works so well with this play. But nevertheless, Olive does not come out well. The one who comes out, who I liked Rue best out of this play. I think Rue has a problem when he starts. He almost doesn't come. He was going to visit a cousin who has a grocery shop in the hope of getting work there. Because he's already more or less drunk all the money that he had. Barney had to buy him a ticket. So he's not in a good place. And the play is him admitting he's not in a good place and what this means and how his life has to change. And you certainly feel for him with the fact that at his lowest, at the point where he would hope that this person that he has given 17 years to would support him, she doesn't, because she's interested in the money and the funds and the stupid dolls. I think it's in that way, it's a really heartbreaking play in that. And you also get a sense that even with that, he still can't shake off Barney, because they do leave together. Do sort of hope he shakes off Barney. Sort of hope he'd get a good wife. I mean, I know you could say, well, why didn't he marry her any earlier? But the relationship was working for them. It wasn't, it wasn't a case that marriage is for everyone, but if he's up and down from Queensland to Melbourne every year, then no, marriage probably isn't so necessary. But if he's going to be living in Melbourne all the time, if they're going to be living together, then he wants that. He wants something stable. He's not young anymore. He's facing up to that this fly-by-night life is not open to him any longer. And so it's a very interesting play also about aging and accepting the changes and the flow of your life. So I found it a really interesting play. I wasn't sure about it at first. I wasn't sure if I was going to do it, but I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I watched it. I did enjoy it enormously. So that is The Summer of the 17th Doll. Don't put your life into stupid, ugly, impaled dollies. Now, next time we have a play. And I actually think I at least have a frame of reference for this play. We are going to be having a look at Tom Stoppard's Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. Now, you know I've seen Hamlet. So since we've done Hamlet already, this one, at least I have some idea of what's going to be happening. It's Hamlet with Rosencrantz and Guildenstern as the main characters. So that should be interesting. But anyway, until we meet again, bye-bye. If you would like to support this channel, come across to the Black Cockie Press website, www.blackcockiepress.com.au, where you will find books and other writing services to help with your writing.